Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. Please enjoy this video on the Political Voices Network.
Good morning, Steph.
Wow, Glenn, I don't know what to, you know what? Let's just get your reaction to the Supreme Court, because I know people are feeling really depressed this morning about it.
Yeah, I feel like I have a democracy hangover this morning. I mean, it was a supreme train wreck. But I'm going to start with on a positive note, because, Steph, how many times have we talked about the fact that saving democracy is up to us, right?
More than ever.
It's up to we, the people. And now more than ever, I think the Supreme Court has driven that home to us. So we are going to get out and vote in numbers too big to rig and too real to steal, whether we're motivated by the Supreme Court apparently, giving a president the right to commit all the crimes he wants against us in violation of our nation's laws and not be held accountable, whether it's revoking women's rights, whether it's, forever taking away the ability of minorities to compete on a level playing field for higher education, whether it is business discrimination against the LGBTQ plus community cloaked in religious piety. What does it take to energize us? Because we ought to be energized across the board. And yesterday was like the icing on that cruddy, inedible little cake that the Supreme Court gave us.
Yeah. It was Chris was just on vacation in D.C. last week, and we were talking about no matter how many times you go, you're still kind of, awestruck usually by the size and scale of the monuments in in D.C. And I remember I went right after marriage equality passed, and I remember the first time I saw, seeing the Supreme Court itself and thinking, oh my God. Yeah. And that's part of that. I just feel like, oh my God, Donald Trump has broken this country, has broken our judiciary, has broken our institutions. That, as you said, the fact they even took this up, they've already botched it. And now the fact that you don't even have to be a lawyer to go, what? They're talking about official or private acts? How could it possibly be a private act to overturn the U.S. government, steal government documents, assassinate someone? I feel like I'm in crazy town, Glenn.
Donald Trump's lawyers argue that these are official acts for which the president can't be prosecuted. Things like announcing that your political opponent is corrupt and ordering him executed. Official act, according to Donald Trump's lawyer. Ordering the military to stage a coup because you don't feel like leaving office. Official act, according to Donald Trump's lawyer. Selling classified information to America's adversaries, official act. To the extent anybody had any lingering hope that the Supreme Court could be an honest broker of the law, it has proved that it is not an honest broker of the law. So again, it falls back on us.
Yeah, Glenn. So what's going to happen here? There's obviously some, inkling that they're going to send this back to lower courts to do some issues, but I mean, they're basically giving Donald Trump what he wants. They're giving him as much delay as possible. What do you think happens from here? I mean, I guess what they're trying to parse out is there some limited presidential immunity, yada yada, but not for this. I know that I heard, I think it was Barb McQuaid this morning saying there's another, trick that Jack Smith could still have up his sleeve, and as I understand it, it means to narrow the indictment. Can you explain any of that?
Let me try.
Okay.
Even Trump's lawyers conceded that some of what's in the indictment couldn't possibly be official acts. So what Jack Smith could do is basically cut out everything that perhaps is an official act and try him only on a narrow sliver of his crimes and his conduct. I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, I don't think we should adjust our law enforcement approach based on an out-of-control Supreme Court attempting to protect a criminal president. I think that's unwise. I think we just have to suffer whatever the Supreme Court opinion is, and then we have to find a way to hold Donald Trump accountable. I happen to agree with what I've heard lots of legal analysts say, that, and predicting what the Supreme Court is going to do has proven to be a fool's errand, right? Because, again, they're not honest brokers of the law. Let me be foolish for a second, though. I think what they're going to do is say, okay, we're enamored of this idea of outer perimeter immunity for maybe some of what he did. So we're going to send it back to Judge Chutkan, not for trial, but for long, drawn-out evidentiary hearings on which act might be in the outer perimeter and which act is beyond the outer perimeter. Then we'll take the case back and decide what immunity should look like for a president. So what does that mean? It means Donald Trump doesn't get tried in D.C. anytime soon, certainly not before the election.
Yeah. Aaron Rupar said, so according to Trump's lawyers, if Trump returns to power, he could sell all of our most sensitive military secrets to China, and he would be completely immune from prosecution so long as he kept it quiet until he left office. This is something SCOTUS is taking seriously. I mean, I think you don't even have to be a lawyer to listen to some of this yesterday. And, you know, what was it? The one thing, was it Kagan said, yeah, that sounds pretty bad, doesn't it? The lawyer's like, yeah, I know it sounds bad because it is bad.
Right. Right.
Right.
And I love every time Trump's lawyer tries to say, well, you know, there's some accountability here because he can be impeached by the House of Representatives and convicted by the Senate. And actually the response to that, Steph, is no, he can't. Because if you give him immunity, he will line up the representatives and the senators. Oh, who's going to vote to convict me or impeach me? Lock them all up so they can't even cast those votes. You know why? I have immunity. Come on, sport. Y'all know better than this.
And we just saw Republicans. We have actual real-world evidence. We saw Republicans let him get away with 2 impeachments that he should have been convicted in. So, no, of course they're never going to convict him. This entire party is corrupt.
Their argument was because he could be prosecuted, so he doesn't need to be impeached.
And here's the irony. Raj tweets, Justice Roberts defining bribery with Thomas in the room is just so on the effing nose. I mean, that you have Clarence Thomas sitting there who's taken God knows how many bribes for God knows what, allegedly. There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.